sure everyone here is well aware of the revitalization efforts underway in the downtown city of York. Today we'll have a presentation of the successes, opportunities, and coordination of downtown development from these three perspectives. A growing local professional company, LSC, which recently relocated to downtown, Rob Kinsley will talk about how, why, and the benefits accrued to the business and its staff. Rob is president of LSC Design and Architecture and Engineering firm in downtown York, and jointly manages the Kinsley family of construction real estate development companies. He obtained an undergraduate arts degree from Colorado College and his master's in architecture from the University of Pennsylvania. Leonardo McClarty will talk about the opportunities for development and the status of some major initiatives. Leonardo is the Director of Economic and Community Development for the City of York. He's responsible for promoting the city to the private sectors in efforts to foster economic investment and neighborhood redevelopment. Within his purview are the Bureaus of Economic Development, Health, Housing, and Planning Permit Zoning. Native of the Atlanta area, Leonardo holds an undergraduate degree in political science from Furman University and a graduate degree in city and regional planning from Clemson University. A career economic development professional, he has also worked for the city of Roswell, Georgia, DeKalb County, Georgia, and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. He's a certified economic development finance professional through the National Development Council and is a graduate of the U.S. Chambers Institute for Organization Management. The nonprofit organization Downtown Inc. promotes the economic development of the Central Business District through focused programs and initiatives. Tim Fulton will talk about the success of those initiatives and the current collaborative projects moving forward. Tim is a lifetime resident of York County. He's a graduate of Cannerdale High School and the American University with a degree in sociology. His professional career started in 1973 with the York Redevelopment Authority, and after 10 years and several major projects, left to work for Susquehanna Falls Grant, later to become Susquehanna Real Estate. After 30 years with Susquehanna, he joined Downtown Inc. in November of 2013. Tim has served on numerous civic and nonprofit boards over the years. I'll turn the podium over to Rob. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to talk about downtown development in the city of York. It's actually a topic that I talked about at a much smaller Rotary Club, and Dave often there, and asked if I would be willing to talk about it here. This is a slightly different presentation than I've talked about in the past. The last time I talked about this, I talked about it myself, and I was trying to wear too many hats. I was trying to adopt too many voices. So today, as we mentioned, I have some partners, which we talked about. The three of us are going to talk about this jointly. And at the end of my talk, I'm going to talk about why I'm calling them partners and not just presenters. So as I said, I'm only going to wear one hat today, and I'm going to come to you as a business owner. Both Tim and Leonardo asked that I talk as a business owner because I recently made a very significant investment in the city of York. I'm going to talk about the what of that and also why, but I'm going to start out with who. So as we said, I'm the president of LC Design. As I mentioned, we're about an 80-person architecture and engineering firm who has been headquartered in York since 1980. The what is that, we recently bought a building in downtown York. This was a 1920s warehouse that was actually originally built by a PA and a small company. And I can promise that almost everyone in this room has driven by it dozens of times and never noticed it. It sits on North George Street, right in the Central Business District, at the head of the Market District, right across North George Street from the stadium. It was the Thomas Somerville building. I should mention that it wouldn't have been possible for us to get involved in this project without the Redevelopment Authority of New York. They took over this property as part of the work in the Northwest Triangle, and we bought it from the Redevelopment Authority. We took this building and invested millions of dollars to turn it into a 21st century workspace for our company. These are before and after photos. The building when we bought it had been empty for a couple of years, and this was its condition. And in January this year, we moved into this new space. This is a space that some of you may have seen. We opened the space up to a lot of nonprofits in town, for a lot of events. We wanted very much not just for this building to come back to life for us, but for the whole community. And this large space, we've had dozens of events since we moved in, and invited a lot of people in to use it. As I said, we took this building and made it open, modern workspace for our employees. We also recently, about a week ago, found out that we were awarded a LEED Platinum certification. This is the highest rating you can get in the most current new construction LEED version. And it's actually only the second project in the state of Pennsylvania to get that award. Interestingly, the only other one is the Barnes Foundation Art Museum in Philadelphia. So the question is why? Why did we do that? Why did we spend millions of dollars to do that? Before the recession in 2008, this was in many ways the footprint of where we were doing work. It was mostly Pennsylvania and Maryland. I think all of you know that the recession hit many industries hard, and especially the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And when work started to slow down, we had to go farther afield. We had to go out and look for work. 6 years later, this is more of a sense of where we work. And as work has come back, it's come back in all those places, and we have had to grow. The reality is that the only thing standing in the way of our continued growth as a company is finding talent. It's about people, and it's about recruiting. All those faces you see there are people that we've hired in the last 3 years. We've had to recruit 40 new employees in 3 years, and if you do the math, that's more than 1 month. I have to get them to come to York. And it's not just that, it's at all levels of the company. Even at our highest levels of directorship, we have to look farther and farther afield. Sarah Workman, our director of marketing, we recruited from Chicago about a year and a half ago. And Jonathan Wary, our director of design, we recruited from Seattle a couple of months ago. I have to tell them the story on why they should leave those cities and come and live in York. I want to talk to you about third places. I'm going to switch gears. Does anyone in the room know what a third place is? Okay. Well, let me start with the first place. First place is where you live, right? The second place is where you work. And for most of us, that's most of our time. Third places are where we do everything else. It's where we eat. It's where we shop. It's where we rest. And it's where we play. If I'm going to continue to grow, I need more great third places so that I can attract more talent to the city of York. This may not seem like economic development to all of you, right? This is a band playing the Cap Live at the Strand. That may not seem like economic development to everyone, but it's what I need to run my business. And I need partners to do it. And that's why I call these two other folks that are going to talk about my partners, not just my co-presenters, because they're partners in growing my business. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon. It is certainly a pleasure to be here to speak before you and talk to you about what's going on in the city. And I was happy to hear Rob say a couple of things that really stood out. The first one is the fact that he referenced both downtown and the city partners. And I think what's really important about that is quite often we hear the term public-private partnership. And it's often one of these buzzwords that continues to get thrown around and about it, it really is that. And I think the three of us here today really symbolize that public-private partnership, and that you need government, you need private sector, but you also need kind of the nonprofit civic arena as well, right in the mix to bring all of these different facets together in order to continue to swing the pendulum forward and to progress, to move things and progress as a city. And so I'm going to talk about some of the current initiatives that are underway. Some are things that are new. Some are things that we've been working on for quite a long time. And then also there are some other things that I just want to give you some brief updates on. So first, we're going to start with the Northwest Triangle. Again, this is a good segue, I think, from what Rob was talking about, his business being in the Northwest Triangle. But also, I think it's another element of what he just referred to is those third places. And that here, when you're looking at, again, attracting talent is also maintaining talent that's currently here, you've got to have great places to live. And so the Northwest Triangle, this particular building is Keystone Colorworks. This was something that just recently, actually over the last 2 to 3 months, the RDA, which is the Redevelopment Authority, for those that may not be aware, and also the Department of Economic and Community Development, we also staff the RDA as well. And so our two entities are often synonymous with one another. But here you're looking at the future 29 luxury apartments, construction set to begin in hopefully April of 15, with a completion date approximately a year later. And really what this does really is two important things. The first is it continues to develop market rate housing for the city. That's something that Tim will touch on a little bit further in his talks, but it's a constant theme that if you talk with, again, representatives of the city, if you talk with folks like Downtown Inc., if you talk to YCEA and others, that again is something that is extremely important, is housing, residential development, but more importantly, market rate housing. Secondly, it continues to re-energize interest in the Northwest Triangle. The next thing is art space. And this was something, this is actually relatively new in comparison, as an example, to the Northwest Triangle. But this was something that actually started about 2 years ago with a feasibility study and a subsequent survey that was conducted earlier this year. And ultimately with that was to determine what would there be an interest in having actual artist housing in the city, and if it was to happen here, would it work? And ultimately the results of the survey came back that overwhelmingly, yes, there is a market here for roughly about, I think it was 56, 57 units or so. Now, this next phase that we've moved in is really this pre-development phase, which ultimately has about an upfront cost of $750,000. And this is something that's not new to New York. This is tied into the model of Art Space, which is actually a development company that's out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so typically, those funds come together through a myriad of resources, private, state, federal, philanthropic community, and so forth. So right now, as you can see there, we're working to try to secure funding through a host of sources like PHFA, which is Pennsylvania Housing and Finance Authority, DECD, home funds, and others. The next is Citizens Bank Building. This is something that was acquired by the RDA in July 2014. And so with that, so we've had it just a very short while, but we continue to field calls, and there's certainly interest there. We actually held I guess I would say a private meeting earlier this summer with various business stakeholders in particular to just talk about, again, options for the building, what can be done with it, how do we position it quickly to be disposed of and to have a quality use for the city. And so some of the uses include, as an example, a place for events, multi-purpose facility, restaurant, residential. But ultimately our goal is hoping to dispose of this property within a year, and that's what we're really working extremely hard on at the moment. Next is Royal Square. And Royal Square is an effort that actually started, I guess, about 2011 and queen, princess, and king. And so that with the larger acre being the Bond Building, which you see the red brick building there. But this is truly a collaborative partnership, both with business as well as the not-for-profit community, and that just recently were awarded a neighborhood assistance program grant through the Neighborhood Partnership Program of the Department of Community Economic Development. It's got a little off these acronyms and alphabet soup. But with that, working with the YWCA and Josh on the continued development in Royal Square, ultimately some of the things that we'll be doing there is streetscaping, renovation, and demolition. Some of the properties that have most recently really been able to take form and take shape have been on the South Duke Street, and you can see Redo, which was recently opened, but others include 109 South Duke, which was formerly Allison's Bar, also 123, 129 South Duke, which we're working on there, as well as 115 South Howard, which at one time was vacant and a blighted property. And so again, a lot of efforts continue over in what we're deemed as Royal Square. But particularly with the Bond Building, that will be, I would say, the flagship project, namely because of its size in that particular block. And so you see about roughly $1.5 million in investment, completion date of April of next year. Again, major events, multi-purpose facility. You can drive by there right now, or frankly walk by there as you leave here, and you can see but you can see guys working and scraping things and doing work there. So that project continues to move along. Next is the unit block of West Market Street, and I'm just going to talk about these two properties specifically. Tim and his comments will actually talk a little bit more big picture as it relates to the unit block and Commonwealth Square as a whole. But two properties that the RDA had here was Griffin Smith and Woolworth. And so with Griffin Smith, the RDA has approved plans for redevelopment of this men's store into a mixed-use facility. First floor retail restaurant, upper floor is office residential. And then also Woolworth is another one, actually within about the last month or so of the last RDA meeting. We entered into an option agreement with Royal Square Development Group for retail on the bottom floor and residential on the top. Next is Fulton. And this has been one that's been certainly a fixture in the community for a while. This was something that the RDA acquired in 2012 as a result of deed in lieu for foreclosure. We're in the process of exploring next steps for this position, especially now that there's a tendency that's staying alongside the building itself. And again, the goal is to dispose and reposition this property in the next couple months. Just some general business activity thought would also just be pertinent and relevant to this group is some other things besides just the actual development, but on a small business development scale, as well as even some potential new policy efforts moving into the 2015 year. And that is our York Business Academy, which is a collaborative effort we have done over the last several years with York College, Pennsylvania. And really, this is truly a small business development program where we have about 20 students that have signed up. And these are, I say students, but these are adult men and women who are interested in having their own business. And so we're working with York Colleges and Actors Group to really kind of walk them through kind of what does it take to start a business, working through a business plan, understanding financing, marketing, all operations, again, all of those things that you have to have an idea of before you actually take that big step into going into business for yourself. The other is Chris. Again, this is a continuation of an effort that's now probably 2 years old, and so the Careers Authority Board and staff continues to work in preparation for another round of applications. Initially, we're hoping that there will be a change and that there will be an application process this year, but now it looks like it will be 2016, which is actually back to what was the original time frame when the program was originally announced by the legislature. Next is land banks. This is something that's certainly not new in terms of as a resource and tool for redevelopment, but it's a special purpose entity that allows you to again address And particularly what land banks allow you to do is really work that in conjunction and collaboration with your redevelopment authorities. And so there are things that you can do through a land bank authority that you can't do through an RDA and vice versa. And so as an example, land banks cannot act in the domain, which is often a tool that the redevelopment authority uses, but yet the RDA cannot distinguish tax liens and claims. And so, but again, the whole purpose is taking properties that are often lighted, tax delinquent, and getting them back to the tax roll. New businesses, 23 new businesses are located to the city this far in 2014. This is not including anything that's taking place at the market. And so, just yesterday alone, we had 3 new ribbon cuttings and 3 businesses that have opened at Central Market. Lastly, I want to encourage you to support our small business community, particularly the Shop Small. This is an effort that's been sponsored by American Express for about the last 5 years or so. That the weekend after Thanksgiving, that across the country, again, various consumers are encouraged to support small businesses in their communities and to shop small. And so again, November 29th. With that, I'm going to actually get ready to turn things over to Tim to talk about downtown East. And I guess I would say the third piece of the triangle.
Good afternoon, and pleased to be here. I must admit that as a downtown employee, I'm new by the block. I've only been downtown now for almost a year. Sonny Hunsinger is the lead person, executive director of downtown. She has some family obligations that prevented her from being here today, so I'm standing for Sonny actually. And I am really glad to have the opportunity to work with downtown because it's such an energized, talented group of people. And I want to recognize one of my associates, Tim Miller, who has been working with downtown a little bit longer than I have. But we were both brought on to work on something called moving plans into action, which I'll tell you a little bit later on. But it was really a major expansion of what downtown does as an organization. Let me give you some idea of what downtown really is. It's a combination of 2 entities. One is Main Street York, which has been in downtown York for I think 20 years now, and the Business Improvement District, which is a special district which has a tax assessment that supports the efforts of downtown. So it's a combination of a 501c3 and a quasi-municipal organization. Our core functions are promotion, marketing special events. Some of them I'm sure you're aware of, like First Friday, Second Saturdays on the Square, the Masquerade Ball, which I'm sure some of you were at. It was the party of the year, held in the post office, fantastic event. Beautification of the environments and landscape plantings. Public safety, we partner with the police department and the sheriff's department to improve the safety, perception safety downtown. And economic development through recruitment, retention for retail businesses as well as the development of residential units downtown. The purview, geographic purview of Main Street is the Central Business District, which is approximately 26 acres, 26 square blocks. And it has in that 26 square blocks a number of different neighborhoods. The Market District in and around the Central Market, Beaver Street, the retail shops, North Beaver Street, and now extending towards South Beaver Street. We go a newly branded residential and commercial neighborhood west of the Doris, Royal Square, which you've heard about in the other 2 talks, and East Market, predominantly residential area, but they're all components of the Central Business District. So what have we done just in the last year? And this doesn't count what has been done in the last 20 years by the organization, but in just 1 year, there have been 3 sidewalk seasonal plantings, over 1,000 bags of trash collected by the cleanup crew, 7 new benches were installed in Cherry Lane. Downtown has adopted the Cherry Lane to be the angel of Cherry Lane Park, to help to improve it and promote it. We did over $12,000 of new landscaping in Cherry Lane. We have $2 million in grant applications that we have developed with the city's Public Works Department and Economic Development Department. I'll tell you a little bit more about where we are with the success of those $2 million applications. And as part of those $2 million applications, we were able to, in less than 3 weeks, raise the local match required for those $2 million and raise over $550,000 in 3 weeks from 24 different groups, ranging from the Roadrunners Club to WellSpan to People's Bank and on and on and on. So it was a wonderful outpouring of support for supporting initiatives in this community. Promotions in the last year, there have been special events that bring people downtown. There's some First Fridays and Saturdays, other events like that. Over 55 businesses in downtown participated in First Fridays. And we have over 3,000 followers on Twitter and 2.3 million impressions of the Hulu ad campaign. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, go to the Downtown website and you can see a fantastic video promoting downtown and all the wonderful aspects of what we have to offer. In economic development, we hold educational workshops for retailers and businesses downtown. There have been over 230 business visits to go out and try to attract new businesses downtown. Natalie Williams is directing that effort. And 75 business support consultations to help businesses with their business plan, with their marketing, with their sales efforts, to bolster their ability to maintain their business. And 22 new businesses in the last year have opened in the downtown area. So I think that's a success record that we want to continue to build on. And our commitment for 2015 is to address the housing demands, which I'll talk to a little bit later about, enhance public safety, foster a business-friendly environment, and beautify the landscape through plantings and cooperative efforts with neighborhood groups and with downtown businesses, and to promote our product, which is the central business district as they live, work, and place to be. I want to talk a little bit about some of our specific initiatives in what has been called a program of moving plans into action. I think it's better called focused development initiatives. And this graphic will give you some idea of what we're doing. Part of this is the $2 million in applications, specifically for the one is the reconstruction and beautification, lighting, and enhancement of the rail trail going from the Market Street area here all the way down to Richland Avenue. That will be resurfaced, new lights put in the entire way, lights where there aren't lights now from Kingsville Road to Richland Avenue. That's a cooperative effort between the city and the college and the state to create this, renew the rail trail as a pedestrian link to York College and that neighborhood. So that will enhance and promote the use of the trail there. That's a construction grant. We have a planning grant that will be looking at the Northwest Triangle, creating a connector road, you can see in blue, an extension of the rail trail from Philadelphia Street to George Street, doing the planning and design work in terms of the core and what we're doing in the center, I mentioned that we're working on housing. We have a program focused on 7 or 8 properties in the unit block of West Market Street, promoting the development to a couple of developers of the second and third floors of buildings there that are currently vacant, recreating them with residential apartments, market rate apartments, and promoting the development of first floors for retail and commercial use. And then, as part of that downtown core development, we are embarking on a design program for, this comes out of the renovation program for the Continental Square, a program to light the 7 buildings that touch the facade, touch the Continental Square. So the facade lighting of those 7 buildings is part of what we're working on now, the design and costing, that so we can develop the funds to actually do the installation of the lights for those facades, and really make the crossroads of York County come alive at night with lights. So those are the major initiatives. I'll point out also where you see that red box on the creek, that's Lafayette Plaza. Part of our planning grant with DCNR is looking how we can repurpose that surface parking lot, make it more in keeping with the rail trail and the waterfront park, and make it more of an event space in concert with the Colonial Courthouse and the historical park that we have there. So, downtown Inc., really what we're about is working with the city, Redevelopment Authority, private developers. What I like to say we do is we convene for collaboration. We try to make